Hello and welcome to Community Watch. I'm Greg Shropshire, and today me and Dr. Hershey will be talking to Maggie Schuyler, the admission director at Georgia Highlands College. And so stay with us because Community Watch starts now.
And welcome to Community Watch. Greg, how are you?
Uh,
Right. I don't know if I'll ever get used to that. So, well, I hope you're hanging in. Now, you are actually at least some of the time going into your workplace, right?
correct. So I get out of the house.
Uh, so for most of us at Georgia Highlands, that is not an option. So
Right.
I'm somewhat envious of you, Greg. But our guest is Maggie Schuyler today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
And Maggie Schuyler is the director of admissions at Georgia Highlands College. And I know we wanted to talk to you about a lot of things coming up at the college, especially now during the weirdness of the situation. But first, I wanted to just ask you about the pandemic itself and changes that have happened already, and whether or not, I guess, in admissions, you ever anticipate anything at all similar to this in your training or discussions, or it's not out there as an option.
It's not. I will tell you, I have been doing this for 17, 18 years now, between being an undergraduate student at Georgia Southern and just working as a student worker all the way now until being a director of admissions. And I have never seen anything like this. The one thing that always happens, though, within admissions is nothing is ever the same. Things are constantly changing. And because things are constantly changing, we have to just be able to roll with the punches and make sure that the students are going to get the absolute best assistance that they can, no matter what happens. So with all of these changes, we have just had to make some adjustments ourselves. And what we have always done is make sure that the students are going to get the assistance that they need first. While we may be running around, in our offices and making phone calls and trying to get everything cohesive, the students won't ever see that because the students come first. So whatever we can do to make a student feel that they're going to get what they need from us, we're going to do. We may not be able to answer the question right then and there. Students are kind of used to that instantaneous, just what can you do right now? That's not always the easiest thing for us to do. So we help them as thoroughly as we can. And if we can't help them right then, we're going to be in touch with them within 24 hours to help them out in no way, shape, or form. But yeah, this has been a very interesting transition. I will say, while we are working remotely, we do have a full staff. So we are still processing admissions applications. We're still accepting admissions applications. We have admissions counselors who are helping students through the process. We're still here. We just may not be in front of you as students have been used to. But, you just have to roll with the punches. That's the best thing to do in a situation like this, and to not freak out. I think a lot of people have been just, oh my gosh, we've got to do. No, we're calm, we're collected. We figure out what we can control, and we can control the things that we can. Everything else, we just wait from direction from the University System of Georgia and our leadership team at Georgia Highlands. They've been wonderful through this process, and they've really helped us to try to give us that direction that we need as well.
You know, when I think of walking through the admissions offices, at least on the Floyd campus, I'm always struck by, even though most folks are in their separate offices, there's really a great deal of working together, of sharing documents, of talking to each other. I mean, it's a very busy, close group in there, and it must have been quite an adjustment for everyone to be in their separate homes when they're used to being, you know, just a couple of feet apart from each other. Has that created any challenges, or have y'all managed that pretty well?
Well, I will say we do miss not seeing each other and not being in communication with each other as much as we were. The dynamics of our offices, you're so used to getting up and going to the next office and getting help, or sharing, like you said, sharing the documentation to finish out an application, whatever it may be. So that has presented challenges. However, we as a team a lot of people have been taking advantage of Zoom. So we do Zoom meetings. And of course, if Zoom does not work for some reason or another, we do FaceTime meetings. The admissions counselors, we all get together and do FaceTime if we need to kind of talk and communicate. We have set up a separate, like a group chat amongst ourselves with the recruiters, so that if something happens, if they have a situation, they can easily pull from their fellow teammates as to what do we need to do to help this student out, or have you talked to this student before? Because, you know, we'll get the phone calls or the emails saying, well, I've spoken to admissions. Well, at this rate, we're spread across, you know, a wide span. So it's trying to figure out who they've spoken to. We're constantly in communication with each other still. It's just a different type of a communication. It's not a get up and run to the next office. It's a, let's do a quick chat, or let's do a quick text to find out what we can do to help those students. So those dynamics have changed. We're definitely missing each other. Yeah, we're a pretty close-knit group. So we're missing each other, but we've just found an alternative to be able to work together, being creative and thinking outside the box.
Schuyler, you know, I was just thinking, you know, you're dealing with the challenges of switching midstream to address the needs of students you currently have, but how are you approaching the upcoming summer semester and the fall semester? Because I'm sure, you know, a lot of the planning takes place long before the actual time. So how are y'all approaching summer and fall semester?
Well, we are actually about to roll out this week, and even starting even full speed next week. We're going to be doing live chats with our students. Basically, instead of having open office hours on campus where students can just come in, sit down and talk to an admissions counselor, we're going to be offering these live chats with our admissions counselors, and this will be 5 days a week. So we will be offering students to sign on a Zoom. We will provide a Zoom link, and they can sign on and they can speak with an admissions counselor 5 days a week. We're going to do 2 days a week in the morning, 2 days a week in the afternoon. And then on Fridays, we're offering also a session for just dual enrollment students, because, you know, dual enrollment students are those students who are currently in high school who are wanting to get those dual credits. So we're also going to be offering that on Fridays with our dual enrollment coordinator. So that way students are going to be able to still be in front of us and talk to us, and we can still recruit them per se for the fall and for the summer. So we're going to have that session, but we're constantly going through any student that has applied. We're reaching out to them via text message, because text message is the easiest way to get in touch with students pretty much these days. We text them, let them know we're here. And then that oftentimes opens that communication. When they get a text message from us saying, hey, we see that you applied for summer, what can we do to help you with the process? They can just either text us back, or they'll pick up the phone and we'll start having those conversations. And of course, we've email and things like that too. But text messaging, it's probably been the most effective. than from what we've seen so far. Because students have their phones, they're at home, they don't have as many distractions as far as sitting in class or having to work, things like that. They're working from home. So we're able to get a little bit more engaged with them that way.
I know there have been, there are going to be some changes this summer in particular. We don't really know what to expect from fall yet, although I think we're all hopeful that fall will be a normal fall. But summer, all the classes are going to be online. So I know that in your discussions with students, that may be a concern for some who are not comfortable with online classes, and I'm sure you are making them feel at ease with that change. But in other ways, it's really the best time to attend in summer, especially this year, because it's going to be less expensive.
Yes, so students are going to be, and pretty much all USG institutions, not just Georgia Highlands, but all University System of Georgia institutions are going to be remote. So whether a student decides to come to Georgia Highlands or another institution in the state, it's going to be a remote classroom setting. So the affordability at Georgia Highlands is definitely more significant than it is at some of the other institutions. And so we are going to be able to stay engaged with them. Now, when we say they're remote, we're not saying we're going to have 50 students in an online class. It's still going to be a small class. It's still going to be one-on-one with the professors and the students. And I mean, John, you can probably even reiterate this from a faculty perspective, is the faculty is even more engaged with it being remote and it being online, so making sure that those students are going to get the assistance and the resources and the help that they need. And so when you're looking at, well, Georgia Highlands is going to be remote, all University System of Georgia schools are going to be remote. So you're not going to lose that one-on-one with a professor at Georgia Highlands because it's remote. You're actually going to get, I think, a little bit more of a connection because the professors are more engaged, and affordability, you can't beat that because our tuition and our fees are definitely more significantly lower than some of our counterparts in the USG.
Well, I know, you go ahead, Greg, go ahead.
I was just wondering, and Doc, maybe you can speak to this, but even though all classes are remote, and that's not new, I mean, because the schools have been offering online classes for a while now, so really making the jump is not huge for most institutions of education. But I'm just wondering from how, I mean, I guess the demand load, though, would change somewhat for professors and admissions office. I mean, I'm just thinking about the coordination of all of that. And it's probably to you, Doc, more than Ms. Collins.
Well, I know from the academic side, we have been, I guess training is the right word. We have quite a few faculty members who've taught online for years. And so for them, this is nothing new. But we have faculty that have not taught online. And so this spring, we've had a great deal of training, and faculty who've had experience have been great about helping faculty who have less experience. And I think students are going to be very impressed with how much attention they're still going to get with the online classes. And instructors are doing it a bunch of different ways. You know, some are having classes by Zoom, just like at the actual time they would normally meet. Some are taping part of the lesson, and some are doing it in different ways that are creative. So I think students will be impressed with what they get. And it looks like we're running out of time on this first segment, but we will be right back with Director of Admissions, Maggie Schuyler, and more discussion. So don't go away.
Your life is filled with opportunities to show the world you can take charge. It's waking up each day with a mission. It's working each day toward a goal. It's choosing to rise. It's charging forward with a purpose. It's changing the course of your life and taking charge of your future. If you're ready to be a Take Charger, enroll at Georgia Highlands College today.
Welcome back to Community Watch. We're talking with Maggie Schuyler, who is the Director of Admissions at Georgia Highlands College. And I wanted, while we were talking about summer, I wanted to ask you about the experience of being a transient student in summer, because I know every summer, even a normal summer, many students who are students around the state or even out of state are back home. They've been attending UGA or Georgia State or Kennesaw or wherever. They're home for the summer, and they have the option of taking a course or courses from Georgia Highlands and have that credit go with them to their home institution. But this summer in particular, with everyone online, every college in the USG online, it makes so much sense.
Oh, yeah.
For students to be transient students with Georgia Highlands, where, well, it's the same credit, and it is less expensive. I mean, especially this summer. So, tell us a bit about that process and how that works.
Transient students have a great opportunity to be able to come home for the summer, whether they're just wanting to take a break from, wherever they work. Maybe they have a part-time job, whatever the situation may be, or they just want to come home and spend time with their families over the summer. Transient students have a great opportunity to take a class or two at Georgia Highlands that is going to be the exact same amount of credits. It's going to be the exact same amount of rigor as if they were at any other institution within the university system, or if they were at an out-of-state institution coming home. And then that classes transfer back to that home institution, goes towards their graduation requirements, their program of study. But yes, the tuition rate is cheaper or more affordable by coming to Georgia Highlands. So if a student wants to be a transient student, they do fill out an application online. They do have to pay a $30 non-refundable application processing fee. They submit their proof of lawful presence, which is 9 times out of 10, a copy of their driver's license, and then a transient permission form from their home institution telling us what class it is that they can take, whether that's English 11-2, microbiology, music appreciation, whatever the class may be. They just state on that form what class they're approved to take. And as long as they are in good academic standing at their home institution, University of Georgia, Valdosta State, Georgia Southern, whatever it may be, they're admittable. And then they get admitted to classes. They register for what class they need. They take the course, and it transfers back to their home institution. So it's a very easy, relatively easy process, because you just have to apply, give us your lawful presence, and give us your transient permission form. And once we get those documents, we can get you processed and we can get you ready for your classes. And they don't have to come to orientation. So if they submitted an application today on the 21st, which is Tuesday, and we have them admitted by Friday, they could go ahead and get registered for their classes, and then they could have a schedule set before May, and then they could start taking classes in June. So it's an easy process, and it's a great opportunity for them to stay on track as well for graduation. That's another reason why a lot of students do this summer, but maybe they can't afford to stay at their home institution. They don't have housing. Maybe they were in the residence halls, whatever that situation is. They can still stay on track for graduation. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them.
I'm just wondering, you was talking about the process, because I know I did that. when I was in undergrad. Do you know roughly how many students or transient students Highlands have in a year?
Well, I mean, right now, Georgia Highlands, we've got our transient numbers are already up for summer significantly. We've got right now probably around 120 students who have applied to be a transient student for summer. But now, transient students don't just have to come for summer. We have transient students that come in for the fall and for the spring as well. And a lot of times those students realize that maybe the class that they need at their home institution has already filled up and they need to have that class for graduation. And we have a course available at Georgia Highlands that fits their schedule. And so they can be a transient student with us in the fall as well. We have transient students year round. It's most common during the summer, but of course we have them every single semester. And we welcome them with open arms, because if we can give them that opportunity to stay on track for graduation, then of course we want to help them out in any way, shape, or form.
So is it possible, when you just described that scenario, so is it possible for a student to attend two institutions at the same time? Could I be a full-time student at my home's institution, but I need a class that Highlands may offer? So could I do both? So could I take a class at Highlands while I'm actually attending class, let's say at Kennesaw State?
We have had that in the past. The tricky little part of that becomes the financial aid aspect. You can't have, for example, like you can't have the Hope Scholarship at two institutions at the same time. So usually that's the financial aid aspect is where it can get a little tricky, is how is it going to get paid for? So students have to make sure that they are financially able to afford the class and they have to make sure they're in good financial aid standing at their home institution as well. So that's something else the students have to we always tell them, you have to talk to financial aid too, to make sure that all the funding is there and that you're good to go. But yes, students could do that. And we've had that happen in the past. The first thing I could think of is microbiology, anatomy and physiology 1 or anatomy and physiology 2, which I was not a science major, but those classes are very sought after. And if a student can't get them at their home institution because they fill up like this, but they're a nursing major or they're a biology major and they have to have that class for graduation, and we offer it, then if they can be a transient, they're good academic standing and they've got their financial aid in place, then yes, we can do that for them.
So let us know what the deadlines are for summer, because I'm guessing there may be quite a few students out there who would be interested and have not yet made the move.
So our summer application deadline is May the 15th. The deadline will close on that day, and then we have to have their admissions documents pretty much by June the 1st. But the hard deadline is May the 15th. We've got to have their application in. We've got to have all of their admissions documents that they can get to us by that deadline as well. We do not require testing. So no SAT, no ACT, no AccuPlacer testing for the summer or for the fall. So we've just got to have their application and their transcripts on file by May 15th. For fall, it's July the 15th for full term. And then we are going to have some late sessions that are available, and that deadline is August the 1st to get their applications on file.
And I know in the summer, there's really quite a bit of variety for students in terms of when the sessions are. We have a May session.
Yes.
The full session of summer is most of June and July.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have courses that are either just June or just July. I mean, there are a lot of options. So if students don't want to be in classes all summer long, they still have options.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about summer, while I say our deadline is May the 15th, if a student is wanting to take Maymester class, and Maymester begins on May the 1st, you're not going to be able to apply on May the 15th to be able to do Maymester. So we do tell students, you do have to keep that in mind. May 15th is our deadline for the students who want to take the classes that begin in June and July. So that full 8-week July June and July session, that deadline is May the 15th. Now, if somebody, again, wants to take Maymester, it's only 4 weeks, but they would have to apply. Really, they'd have to apply now because those classes are going to begin very soon. We don't see as many new students coming in to take that Maymester. A lot of our new incoming students are taking the semester classes that begin in June and July.
So I'm just, Ms. Schuyler, with admissions, and we was talking off camera. Do you think we will go back to quote unquote the old normal? Because with so much, we've been forced into this that clearly there's a upswing, there's a benefit to online, Zoom and Google Hangouts, different type of formats. And because so many of us have been forced to move into this area, I'm struggling to see how you just go back to what the old normal was to some degree.
I can tell you what was our old normal is not going to be the new normal. Whenever we do officially get back on campus and are able to have the general public come into our offices, things like that, that old norm is not going to be the new norm anymore. What the new norm is going to look like, I really don't know. I can tell you, though, for us, I like the option of having Zoom opportunities for students. I really do love that option. So I would like to still be able to continue that in some capacity once we do get back on campus. Having some students be able to meet with admissions counselor via Zoom, we'll probably still continue to look into things like that. I've already talked with our marketing department about trying to do some more virtual tours. We're going to try to look. That takes away sometimes from that personal one-on-one feeling that students really want, but it's always a great option to have this as something that for a student who may not have the opportunity to come to campus. So let's offer them the virtual opportunities as well, and then we'll get them on campus at a later time. So I think we will still kind of continue with this in some way, shape, or form, just not maybe in the capacity that we're at right now, obviously, but I definitely see it continuing on. All of our orientations are online this summer. So, for both summer and for fall, they're already converted to being virtual. So we're going to be sticking with that in some capacity.
I can tell you from taking online classes and being an educator with online classes in the past, Zoom and Google Hangouts and things, it changes it to some degree, because even though you're not face to face, you still get a sense of connectedness that you don't normally get in traditional online classes, which is kind of like everything is just posted and you just kind of do the assignment. So I'm kind of excited about what the future holds in terms of education with now this whole online capacity and tools that we have at our disposal. So I'm looking forward to see how that plays out.
And it got us thinking creatively too. So we had to think outside the box, and we're able to do some creative ways of engaging with our students that, because we've been able to think outside the box, it's opened up a whole new world for us. So I think that's exciting to see too, where that's going to lead us in the future.
So Maggie, we have less than a minute left. If we have a potential new student out there or parents who want more information, what is the best email address or method to get information?
The best email address is admitme@highlands.edu. admitme@highlands.edu. That will go to our admissions office, and we will be able to assist them in any way, shape, or form that they need.
Well, that's great. And thank you so much for being with us. We will.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to have you back and make up for waiting so long to get you here. So
that sounds great. Next
right.
time, just let me know when, and I'll be more than happy to.
And all for watching. We'll see you next time on Community Watch.